Yay!
Yeah.
So professionalism, we talked about it last week. We had a couple of guests on, Naomi Rozak and Giselle, just talking about, therapy, professionalism, corporations, those types of things, and how sometimes we end up separating our beingness. We go to work, we're one way. We come home, we're a different way. And so today we're carrying that on that conversation into authenticity. What does that
That's a big A word.
really mean?
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely a buzzword, authenticity and vulnerability, I would pair. And I think the notion that is everybody wants to be more real, right? Like, I think if I ask the question, "Do you want to be authentic?" I think majority of the people would say, "Yeah, 100%." And so there are degrees of that because everybody's at a different stage of their lives and working on different pieces of like how to be more authentic and what does authenticity mean. And this is a practice I'll speak for myself of practicing more because growing up, like I just kept everything to myself in my head. And so even by sharing my thoughts and my opinions was being authentic when I didn't have the opportunity to do so, right? Wearing that mask or fear of judgment, fear of being made wrong or having the wrong answers. And by practicing that through networking or Toastmasters, public speaking, right? These are degrees of authenticity where I get to shine myself. But I realized there was still a mask at play, that there's a persona that I put on, that I was acting in certain situations, right? Acting with my family, acting at work, acting with my friends, acting when I was interested in someone. There's a particular
Mm.
mask that I put on. And as I discover my authenticity in this moment that I'm practicing and cultivating is revealing what is in me moment by moment, revealing honesty, whether that's sadness, that's grief, that's anger, opening up that I'm activated and triggered in the moment, that I'm happy, I'm joyful. Though, if I were to say most people would be more comfortable at sharing that they're doing great, they're doing fine, hmm? That everything is amazing, life's great. Hmm? And I reciprocate, yeah, yeah, man, that's awesome. Life's great too. And then I close the door and I look at myself in the mirror. Is that true? How's my relationships? How's the relationship with myself? So authenticity to me now is, am I betraying myself moment by moment? Am I lying to myself? Am I not being integritous with myself? Am I not following through on my word? If I'm feeling these feelings, am I lying to myself saying, no, they don't exist? I'm amazing. I'm great.
Mhm.
Or am I revealing that, allowing it to move through me? And with this practice has created some waves. I've received backlash.
Which practice
What
are
I
we?
received, well, I'm talking about revealing myself in the moment, being real
Mhm.
moment by moment, right? The practice of revealing what's alive in me. I received some backlash,
You're
which
talking
I,
about episode 2 times ago where you actually processed a trigger in the moment on
yeah,
live, right?
yeah, hmm,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah. I received some what I call negative feedback, and that's the cost of it, right? That's the cost of me showing up who I am here right now. And that could also prevent me from being real too, because I'm afraid of being judged, being rejected. I'm afraid of losing relationships for revealing what is here rather than just putting on a mask and a persona that everything's amazing and I'm here to teach you something. I'm here to give you some golden wisdom nuggets that work for me because I'm strong. I have everything together. Everything's amazing. Versus, wait a minute. There's times where I'm not feeling great, and here it is. There's times where things are not working out as I expect them to be. And can I be okay with that? And for some people, that might not be okay because it's quite revealing. It's different than the story of that everything's good. That
Yeah.
everybody has it together.
Hmm.
If someone is showing that they don't have it together, it's like, oh shit, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with this person. We got to fix it. Mm,
Hmm. And I think we're here to challenge that, to say that actually
mhm,
everything's right. Why can't we just be truthful in the moment? Why are we
mm,
hiding
mm.
some aspect of ourselves, some aspect of our humanness to try to be something that our culture tells us is right or wrong?
Yeah.
I think we've been told that our whole lives. Well, be more polite, show a mask. Oh, well,
You
that's
could
not
put,
true magnetism. If you're emotional, I mean, the kind of backlash you had was, you've got a demon inside you, or you know, a lot of really interesting um, ideas of why it's not okay to be in the moment. And I know a lot of healing, and a lot of people talk about demons, or they talk about um, what else? Well, be positive. Don't steep in negativity. And I think that's true. But there's a point where you don't feel what's actually happening in your body in the moment. And this is where disease can set in and energy gets stuck. And so there's a balance between what am I actually feeling, and what I've noticed, and I think what happened when you actually process that trigger in the moment, you went in with a feeling of frustration and anger because the technology, and there was a whole bunch of pieces that were frustrating. I mean, life is frustrating sometimes. People get hit by cars, they have heart attacks, one of their family members fails an exam and they feel whatever. Like, what do we do in those challenging moments? Are we always just, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm so good, I'm so strong? I think it's fake. um so why can't we show up in the moment
mm. Well,
with
I mean, there's fear. Like I'm
yeah.
going back to like there's a fear of being rejected, being judged, being wrong. Um, there's what with my family, the culture, the country, my friends think I should be a certain way, what success looks like. And even the people that we look up to, celebrities, social media influencers, politicians, even anything in terms of climbing the corporate ladder, what gets rewarded is this perception of having it all together. This go-getter, this aggressiveness, go make things happen, being confident, right? Having the suit, I mean, having the car, playing the part, playing the James Bond part, right? All the time, or what's being perceived out there. Hmm? But then
Hmm.
when I close the door, what's happening behind closed doors? Hmm?
It's a good question. Most people
How are you
don't think.
talking to yourself? How are you talking to your spouse? How are you talking to your kids?
Hmm.
And there's so much fear in just allowing that to be seen. And so there's shame around that I should have everything together. Because everybody around me, I perceive that has everything together, that they're perfect, that they're not encountering these same problems because no one is talking about it. Maybe they're talking about it in the past. So then I'm like, wow, they solved it. So they move past that level, and I'm gonna go to them for advice and mentorship. Well, life happens in the moment. From moment I'm celebrating, from one moment I'm mourning. And can we not be real in those moments by moments? Even when someone does seem to have it all together, is successful on paper, can they be willing to be open about what's really going on? Their angers and their frustrations, their overwhelm, their sadness and their grief. And so when it's not being shared on the mainstream level, then there's a lot of shame around hiding that stuff, right? Because the perception is that everybody has got it together.
Yeah, so we've got a culture of actors. It's Hollywood in real life, isn't it? Kind of
Yes.
kind of irritates me. Not
Acting.
acting. We're all acting. We're acting.
We all acting. I act 100%, right? I own that for myself. That there's certain masks, certain scenarios, certain situations I act, and it's a protection mechanism, right? Because it's safety. What I'm looking for is safety. And that why it's so important to like consider the environment here. There's certain environments where if I were to share this vulnerable piece about myself, being authentic, it could be used against me or weaponized against me. Then it's not a safe environment, right? But then that can cause for me to not share anything at all and just kind of like wait to see if I can trust this person. Versus, let's take the risk. This is who I am in this moment. Now, if you don't agree with it, you don't resonate with it, then we're on the same page, and that's okay. But now I also put myself out there in a way where my people get to see me for me. That I could still have both authenticity and belonging. Because now when I'm being real, I get to attract the people that like me for me. That speak in that language.
And what about, and hi, Chris, we haven't acknowledged you here today. Thanks
Mm.
for being here.
Hey, Chris.
I'm curious about people like, well, authenticity and belonging, that's all nice. What about success? And what about values? I know one of your greatest teachers and mentors, we have a few of them, but Connor Beaton we're listening to a podcast and they're talking about success. And for men, this stoicism, this don't show your feelings, don't get pussy whipped, a lot of different beliefs. What about, we just watched the movie Gladiator 2 about nobilism, about the values of strength, integrity, honor. And I really see a lot of, there's a lot of success in the world, success in our very materialistic corporate environments. It's about money. A lot of it's about money, and money is printed. It's a figment of man's imagination. Yet we've all lived by it. And for me, what I'm so excited about is a paradigm shift. And even Connor Beaton talked about that. And we talk about how we can truly be of service to each other at our most authentic,
Mm.
and I would call it soul driven level. Because how do we come here? How do we get here on the planet? What's our purpose here? Is it really to make a lot of money? I remember a picture. It was pretty funny. It's a picture of a hearse with a U-Haul behind it, and they're driving to the funeral with this U-Haul, kind of maybe like the pharaohs. They're going to bury them with all their gold. And something you said earlier that they said in Gladiator, and the true, I believe, the spiritual war, or what we're all waking up to, is that, and I don't remember what it was, Dre. I think you know what it is, but that what we say or what we do ripples through eternity. Is that what it was?
What we do echoes in eternity.
In eternity, right? And so I believe we've been here a lot longer than this lifetime. Some people may not believe that. But we can't take money or things with us. But what does echo in the hearts of every other man and woman is this feeling of connection or authenticity, of honoring ourselves in the moment. And I believe it took great bravery for you to do that 2 sessions ago. And there's going to be people that they don't feel safe enough to do that yet. But I think people are going to get more and more tired of pretending. And if the suicide rates and the alcoholism and the addiction rates, and the fact that we have some friends that work in health and safety, that work is now a mental health hazard, is any indication that we're longing for more authenticity, more connection, more of this skill to be real in the moment. If we're sad, we can be sad. We don't have to fix someone else because it makes us uncomfortable. And the more we're able to do that, the quicker it just moves through us. We don't have to be steeped in it. We don't have to be depressed for 25 years. We don't have to be on antidepressants for the rest of our life. We get to just feel and move through it in the moment. And it moves. And I don't know what I'm saying, but Chris.
Yeah, Chris
Oh,
says money is a
Christine.
fiction. Therefore, the definition of success is by society is a fiction. Yeah, it's all play, all acting on the show. And so the question is, am I betraying myself for me? And what I do echoes in eternity. Is it true to myself? How am I showing up? Right? I do make an impact wherever I go. And so what I got from that, what you shared there, babe, was be of service, right? And what is to be of service is because living in society and having bills to pay, money is important,
Yeah.
right? Money does help people make a greater impact, have
Mm-hmm.
resources, right, to serve. And so it's not about having a negative relationship with money. And we already know that if I'm chasing money all the time, then I'm really making things transactional and I'm not focused on the relationship. So the whole idea is like, how do I be of service? And money is just a form of exchange, right? Of value,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Right. So I think the focus here is to be of service. And how do I be of service as authentically as I can be? Like the human connection. They say authenticity is the new currency. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? And it's about valuing human connection, and it's about creating a place, a culture where it's safe to allow these to be expressed and seen without judgment, without being fixed. Did not come from the notion that I'm broken, right? There's something wrong with me. Right. The more I do this work, the more I see the human condition and the human pattern that everything makes sense. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that quote that came from that book, like perfect love casts out all fear. Was that the
Yes,
quote?
love casts out all fear. Mm-hmm.
Love
Yep.
casts out all fear. Wow. Wow. To be in that practice of love, right? Like truly, not like intellectually conceptualizing it, though embodying it. And this is a practice for me of self-compassion for myself because I'm very critical of myself and I know where that comes from. And it's an ongoing practice, right? So it's like, am I betraying myself? And can I be in an environment where I get to practice this? And it might not be at work where I don't feel safe to do that, or at home with my family. Though, can I find a sisterhood, a brotherhood, a community where I can just be myself and practice that skill? Because then when I know my truth, I start to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm able to hold space for others in a way of like just loving on them because what they're saying to me, right? It's just information, a transference, a projection of the reality onto me. I'm just a revealer and I get to hold that with love when I know who I am and what my truth is. So if I don't do the work of practicing, of sharing from my heart, discovering what's underneath this hood, I'm never going to get there because I'm going to be force fed by someone else telling me, Dre, no, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. Dre, you got a demon inside you. You should get fixed. And underneath it all is a cry. It's a bid for connection that this person cares about me. And that what I'm revealing in that moment perhaps is uncomfortable. Perhaps does not fit this person's paradigm of a way of being. And it's not to say what he's doing doesn't work, because it has worked. He's here and he's created this life through that way of being, right? So I've been there. I've lived in my head before. I've pursued materialistic pursuits and I was not happy. What makes me really happy is being me, speaking my truth, and being with others that speak their truth. I feel connected. I trust that person, that man or woman. I trust myself more because I'm given permission to discover who I am
Mm.
without being fixed, without giving advice, without saying that I'm wrong. I can show up as me and shine and be able to cast love out because I'm clear on who that is. Because when it cooks into me, when I'm like, oh, that part of me like feels that judgment and rejection is because I don't trust myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Chris says
interesting,
here,
isn't it? What's he say?
my friend Angeli shared a teaching that a feeling fully felt passes through in less than 90 seconds. A current emotion, not stored emotions. That's a big dam to drain. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that exciting that we can think of just allowing emotions to pass through it because it's energy in motion? But once they're stored, it takes a bit of digging over time. And that's what people call trauma. But as we touch what's alive in us right now, it gets to the stored emotions too. And sometimes it does feel a little overwhelming because you're right, once they're stored, it's a bit of a dam. And this is
Mm,
where I think a lot of people are experiencing healing crises. And
mm,
a lot of people think of them as negative, but I really see it as just, stuff that's been held back that's being allowed to flow freely. And it does, people have an experience of pain, but pain is highly intelligent. Um, it has something to say that as we can accept, and honors the really big word, and trust our pain, that it moves, and it moves really quickly. And this is where, you know, situations in our lives seem static, disease symptoms seem static in our body, in our mind, and in our relationships, but it's only because we're not trusting the energy and what we're noticing. And I like to call our body a conduit. It's a conduit to all source, to all energy, to archetypes, to wisdom. We are connected to, and I can't remember, Greg Braden, he will say there's an actual antenna between our cranium and the space of our bone. There is an antenna that acts like the mycelium. um, there's a wonderful movie out about magic mushrooms. What is that movie called? And it talks about the networks of information
yeah,
and
fantastic fungi.
the fantastic fungi. So as below, as above, all of this information feeds through our body conduit. And if we're not willing to be present with what is and speak what's happening in the moment, we're disconnected. We're disconnected from the energy of consciousness itself.